and gentlemen, welcome back to HMP. We know you've been angry that we've been off the tracks, but now we're back a little bit. We've got Loki Season 2 in tow. I'm your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, it's not a weird voice affectation. He's just from New England. Welcome back to the show, Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
I know what you're trying to do here with this music, Portress, and I don't approve.
I don't know what you're talking about. And
you do.
He has
yes, you do.
No variant, because who would want to be like that? Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear. Happy Christmas.
Man, I tell you what, the boys, what was it? One day in? Was it not even a day into the December season that you got smashed over the brain?
It was. I think it was literally the first day.
On the first day of Christmas, we ruined it all for you.
I got another. I had to listen to Bruce Springsteen's worst song. It was the worst.
So, Blinded by the Light, gotcha. Manfred Mann did it better. I'm sure old Brucey gets mad when he cashes that check, but begrudgingly, I'm sure. Well, we're back, everybody. I know we've gone off the trails for a little bit here in the last couple of weeks and months over at HMP, and people have been going, where's the superhero stuff? For the love of God, I signed up for a superhero show, and this ain't it. Well, it's all right. Pump the brakes, baby. We got you. We're back here, and we're going to be talking Loki Season 2. Should we have done a 30-question show on that? Who's to say? We'll talk about that at the end of the show and everything.
We would have been wrong about every single question.
Yeah, probably. More than likely, I would say. Before we do get to Loki Season 2, though, we got to say a giant thank you to the people who support us over at patreon.com/HMP. Those awesome people get pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone, and so much more. Today, we've got two new entrants to this. Sean, who's coming to the table today?
All right, so first up, we have Barry G. Barry, thank you so much for joining HMP. And as you guys know, at this point now, it's not just off the top of the dome when it comes to nicknames anymore. I like to do a little bit of digging. And so I did on both of these, and Barry G's our first new Patreon member. And so Barry G, here's what I have. Barry is a gender-neutral name of Irish origin. It's an anglicized version of Bier, which means fair-haired.
Huh.
And while traditionally used as a boy's name, this is coming from the website with what I'm about to say. While traditionally used as a boy's name, Barry also makes a sweet choice for girls.
Was Barry Lyndon a girl?
A sweet choice.
What a terrible, terrible way of phrasing that. Makes a sweet choice for girls.
What if it was a
Barry
rad
G,
choice?
Barry G, I would be an idiot to miss an opportunity like this. I would be rightfully fired if I didn't give you what is now one of my favorite all-time nicknames. So from this point forward, any and all correspondence between you and this slapdash, poorly conceived podcast, you will forever be known as Fair-Haired Barry. Thank you for joining the HMP-ness, and congratulations, Fair-Haired Barry.
Excellent.
Next up, we have Celinda G. And Celinda G.
No relation.
We didn't. Right. Especially since their last names
not even remotely close.
But I'm trying to save you.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So, Celinda, when Portress first told me you were joining HMP, I thought, what an unusual name. But it turns out, if this were 1938, I wouldn't have thought that. Because in 1938, Celinda was a very popular name in the United States.
Huh.
Celinda is from Latin, which means the heavens. And I think we can all agree the heavens is an awful nickname. So I started snooping around, and it turns out that the most famous Celinda living in our time is a woman named Celinda Lake, who is a political strategist. And while she's a hardcore Democrat, she wrote a book with Kellyanne Conway, who was a hardcore Republican, titled What Women Really Want. And in full disclosure, I will never read this book because it sounds like homework. But what all this paves the way for is Celinda's HMP nickname. Are you kidding me with this? That the most famous Celinda is a political strategist? Now she's part of HMP, and I'd like to make Celinda G the most famous Celinda during our time. And that's why, from this point forward, your new HMP nickname is going to be the Celinda G. So congratulations, the Celinda G. You are now the most famous Celinda of our time. And thank you from the three mental giants here at HMP.
Now, just for clarification and clerical purposes and everything, this is how I wrote it. Tell me if you approve of this. I have "the" in all capital letters and then Celinda G.
Do you throw a second E on the end of that "the"?
You want two "these" on the "the"?
Yeah.
Like a thee and thou thee. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha. That worked.
Yeah.
Perfect. Again, this is why we do this: clerical purposes and surely tax purposes. No
It's
doubt
all
about
for
it.
the record.
Yeah.
It's all for the record.
Put it up on the board there, Barry.
Thank you.
All right, so that's Barry,
Did you
the
just
producer.
burp that? That would have been way cooler if you did.
A little yakko wacko and dot action going on, and of course, thank you to Barry and I'm sorry, the fair-haired Barry and the Celinda G. Thank you for supporting us. Patreon.com/HMP. Whatever number that you feel like this show is worth. If we didn't show up in your inbox here on a Monday, how sad would you be? Put that in a dollar form, send it our way. Get more content at the exact same time. We love you. We love you. We love you. And if you can't do that, go to the iTunes, man. Drop us a 5-star review, aka Humdinger. Oh my word!
Humdinger.
I got scared for a moment.
I was I supposed to do it again? I thought I got a week off.
I was putting my dog up on the couch. Sorry.
Get over here, you little jackpot. All right, so this is we don't have this too often, but let's do this, boys.
Fails.
Oh, I hadn't heard that in a minute. Yes, sir, boys and girls. This one comes to us from Sir Slick Derek, the Night Bard. He writes in, Adam, sorry I've been radio silent, but I just have to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for your support with regards to Worlds Within. I strongly believe it's in large part, thanks to your show that we were able to get this funded. I had no idea you'd plug it up to this point, but thank you. Not to get too sappy, but you guys have brought a lot of joy and fulfillment to my life, and now you've added even more. So again, thank you so much. If there's ever anything that I can do to return the favor, please don't hesitate. Thank you. That comes from Sir Slick Derek, the Night Bard.
You should ask him to wash your car.
My car does need a good washing. I'm not gonna lie to you, inside and out. A lot of, ooh. But no, he doesn't. Derek, you've been one of the Patreon supporters for just an unbelievably long time here and everything. One of our top guys and whatnot. And so, like it is with everybody over the Patreon, we're not just only making content from you, we're listening from you guys and stuff as well. And if there's anything that you guys need us to promote, especially if you're, somebody like Derek, who's just been around here forever, the second you say, hey, I've got this little thing, we are happy and more than willing to wave that flag around, man.
Absolutely. If your potatoes are small like ours are, we're more than happy to help you.
Yeah, what little boost our tiny show can do, we are more than happy to do that for anybody that does the same for us. And we again, just thank you to all of you guys, Patreon, Derek, and anybody who I believe, and I'm sure that we had a couple from this show that listened and helped support it over there. Thank you to those folks as well.
Yes.
So let's wrap up the old mailbag.
Fails here.
All right, boys, let's get into it. Here is the IMDb plotline for Loki Season 2. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. The mercurial villain Loki resumes his role as the god of mischief in a new series that takes place after the events of Avengers Endgame. I guess that's they only write it for one season, I suppose. This is created by Michael Waldron, he of Rick and Morty fame, as well as Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But let me sell everybody here on this second season of a show that might have been a much better 30 Questions edition than our other show, but the hindsight's 2020. This sucker's got everything. We got all of your Loki's favorites from season 1 or back. We got Loki redefining what it means to be a villain and exactly what is a hairline. We've got Mobius in his all as Owen Wilson glory. Lady Loki returns. We got tough security ladies back, and she's great. Miss Minutes is back now with more sexy. Okay, sure, why not? We also got He Who Remains. He also remains a big part of this story. We'll get to that. And we've gotten to meet a couple of new friends along the way. We've got our new actor friend, Kang's love interest, that kid from the Goonies, all grown up, and he's the only one in this show with an Oscar. Think about that. We're still riding on the multiverse, and this show seems to do it better than most of the other Marvel properties these days. We got branching timelines, glitching out, squishing people in a box, something I call spaghetti explosion. Back to the Future references like Bob Gale's getting a kickback or something, but I'm okay with it. A McDonald's that makes you pine for the days of yore, a Sea-Doo shop that you can just smell by looking at it, Groundhog Day love galore, science class, pizza oven head scanners, stutters galore, vague racism, giant heads and statues, learning from doing, the journey to find one's purpose and place in the universe, and an ending that wraps it all up. Or does it? This show has everything.
Yes, indeed. And I just want to go ahead right now and say the big time spoiler warning, because this is one I don't want people to have spoiled unless they've seen it. So maybe a meta spoiler that I liked it, but please don't listen if you haven't seen the show yet, because to me, the ending was powerful and having that spoiled would stink.
If I may spin a tale here for a second.
Sure.
You may think that you're fine with having the ending spoiled for you. You're not. Let me give you an example here. One time my old pal Bruce said to me, "Hey, you need to see this movie Split." And I was like, "There's no way I'm ever going to see it." And Bruce said, "No, I think you should see it." And I went, "I don't care. I'm never going to see it." And Bruce said, I want you to see it without me telling you why you should. And in order for me to tell you why you should, I need to ruin the ending. It seems like the only way you're gonna listen to me here." I was like, "No way, no how. Go right ahead." And he told me the end to it, and immediately I was like, "I got to go see that Split movie now." And so I did. And the thing that would have made it so great was if I hadn't had the end ruined by myself when I forced Bruce to tell me the end of Split, because when that music kicks in from Unbreakable, and I knew it was the Unbreakable music, I was like, "Oh man, I can't even imagine how crazy I would have been if I would have."
It was in the theater on opening day. It was electric. I was just like, and I was by myself. I don't think there was much of anybody in there, but it was just like I was grabbing my seat going, "You've got to be putting me on."
Just amazing.
Probably my all-time favorite movie going moment from the audience was when the guy he wasn't next to me. He was close enough that I could hear him though. And he said, "What's Kevin Costner doing there?"
Awesome.
Because he thought Bruce Willis was Kevin Costner, and it made my day.
That's really great. That's really great. So if you think you're okay with the ending being spoiled for you, and you have any sort of care at all about the Marvel U or Loki or anything at large comic book wise, stop listening now.
Because I think we're going to talk about a lot of this stuff that like from this thing and the future beyond and stuff, obviously.
Yes.
So let's get into it. Let's kind of relive a little bit of season one, just for our general thoughts of it. I think with our 30 question show, you can go through and like listen to how we kind of reacted to it almost in real time as the show went on and everything. But this one, I like the first one a whole bunch. I think we all had a really good time with it and thought it was narratively one of the stronger Marvel properties that we've been given.
That I liked it, but I never revisited it. So there were some details that were a little fuzzy. But they came back to me after like 2 or 3 episodes.
I will say,
and I do have to say that for me, this is one of those shows that was really good, not great. So I liked it a lot. Like what happens with that first run of the Disney Plus shows, where you're like, "Oh, that was pretty good, but it could have been better." Loki was the one weird show where it was like, you know what? I like that. I like that. I'm not so sure how much I love the ending to this because it all just splits into a multiverse. But like, okay, it was one of those.
And especially with the way that they were kind of showing where things were going, more or less, there was so much potential for things to go horribly wrong in season 2 from a narrative perspective. Yeah. You could end up juggling a whole bunch of balls in the air that lead nowhere or somewhere that no one decided that they wanted to go.
And I kind of feel like Loki season 1 was the last Marvel thing I watched before the burnout started to set in.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Agreed.
Because, and again, it was one of those things that, like, I think one of the strategies, and I feel like you had to come to this strategy if you were Disney, though, is to, have just as much crap out there as you possibly can as quick as you can, because you want people. That's when Netflix started to soar, when it started to get a lot of its own original programming and stuff, and Disney goes, oh, we'll just do that exact same thing, but we got Disney money, so we can just start flowing this stuff in there, not necessarily always giving the time, care, and attention to those things that perhaps they might have needed.
Because I got my Disney Plus subscription like as soon as it came out, and there were, I don't know what, 6 weeks, 2 months or something before the Mandalorian episode 1 hit.
Mm-hmm.
And it started to really feel like, man, this is a streaming service. Really, how many times can I watch the original Pete's Dragon? It's like, this isn't necessarily for me. And then finally, some new content came out, and then I thought they need to be doing this every month. And then they started doing it every month. And I was like, why so much?
Yeah, then it was just a little bit of too much on the valve there. It's like, okay, you can lighten up a little bit, and that would be okay.
You know what it would have made it okay is if they did what they did in the first place with the Marvel movies, where like, maybe you saw Iron Man, right? Maybe you saw Iron Man 1 15 years ago, and you were like, you know what, that movie was great. I don't need to see anything else. And the next movie you see is Avengers.
Yeah.
You can watch Avengers and still, for the most part, get what's going on.
Yeah.
That stopped being the case for everything Marvel.
Yes.
I would say around Civil War, like Iron Man or Captain America 3.
Mm-hmm.
That's being the case. And so nothing is standalone anymore. You have to know everything about it. And then and the really eye roll inducing moments with Marvel is when they're introducing to you a concept or a character that's like for 30 seconds, and then that thing goes away, and you're just like, you know what, guys, like, enough of this. Like, can we just have a story that's just a good story for once?
Yeah. And maybe, don't just introduce a character because it's a character with a familiar name. Like, if you don't have an idea for it, let's not burn that character, because I feel like they've burned a few.
I agree.
It could have been better.
Yep.
But I did not remember a whole lot of details from season 1 when I watched season 2. Like, I couldn't even remember Sylvie's name. I just was calling her she Loki.
Lady Loki.
Yeah. And then, I was pretty sure she didn't have bangs in season 1 because she looked really different to me when we first saw her with the bangs. And also, I forgot just how much I like Owen Wilson as Morbius. It's my favorite Owen Wilson role.
Your favorite Owen Wilson role?
I mean, do you have one you like better? I don't know. Maybe I'm short-sighted.
I'm a Dignan man.
I would say we all know that Custer died we all know that Custer died at Little Bighorn. But what my book is supposing is maybe he didn't. That's my favorite Owen Wilson character. But
what character is that? I don't know if I've seen that one.
I can't remember the character's name, but it's from Royal Tenenbaums.
Yeah.
Oh, I like. Yeah, he painted his face, drug addict. Yeah, it's okay.
He's got a pair of child's underpants framed on his wall for some reason.
I don't know. Morbius. I like the idea. We get to see him from being Morbius, being obsessed with the jet skis. We get to see more of a whole character. Usually Owen Wilson's pretty flat character. He's a comedic one joke almost a lot of times.
I don't know. Like, I think Owen Wilson is in a lot more rangy things than people give him credit for.
And I agree. I'm the first to confess there's tons of stuff I haven't seen. So I'm just saying my favorite. I'm not saying it's his best.
Yeah.
Just saying it's my favorite.
But like he does bring an Owen Wilsonness to it. I know that's like, because it's so weird to say, but it's like he does have a weird undefinable quality that he brings to whatever role he's in.
He does. And one of the things that he's really good at is he's good at being in a duo. You think of Wedding Crashers, he's great in that.
Mm-hmm.
You think of even Bottle Rocket, he's great in that because he's there with his brother.
Yeah.
But he's really, really good in that. Even something even something as well, it betrays what I just said, but even something like him as the voice of the car in Cars,
Mhm.
like he's really good in that role because you like he conveys more than the words on the page.
Was he the voice of Heat Vision?
No,
Yes.
Okay, that might be my
Yes.
favorite role.
Oh no.
No, but has he done anything episodic other than Loki? I mean, I'm not counting Heat Vision and Jack because it only had one episode, but maybe
And
part
it's
of why I
fake.
like him is I'm getting to spend more time with this character.
I can't think of him on. I'm not.
Not to any of my recollections off the top of
I'm
my
looking
head.
I'm looking on IMDb here. I'm not seeing anything that's episodic.
I know Luke was on some episodes of Stargirl, so I got to see him in an episodic role, but maybe this is my favorite because I'm spending more time with this character.
But and the cool part is, and one of the things that I think you might like about it, Bruce, is from this character aspect is like, we get into the point where they're taking not only him, but all the other people from their particular timelines and stuff, and then bringing them to the TVA. And that's always why I like that idea of like, they have these kind of remnants. You don't know why Mobius is into jet skis. And then we kind of find out that, the guy that we took him from forever and ago, sold jet skis and whatnot.
I love it that they finally closed the loop on that and answered that question. And, that's some of the clever things that are done in this season 2 that make me like it. I like it that it feels to me like they had a plan for season 2, even though I don't think they did. Like, because all the words on the street were that it was going to be one and done, season 1 of Loki. And then it was real popular. So then they tacked on Loki will return at the end of the first season. And then it just so happens it worked out really well.
I think you're right on that, Bruce. It feels like they got really lucky because the director of the first season or showrunner was basically like, look, we have enough ideas for a second season, but that's literally going to be it. Like there will not be a third season of this. And he said that up front. And so, hey, let's push for more Loki. And so they did. And man, I'm glad they did, because this is the first thing since Guardians of the Galaxy with Marvel where, and for a very long time, I've just been like, well, they're spinning wheels. Like there's literally no ideas. There's no like no one is putting their best into this thing anymore.
I can't quite tell when it started, but there was a point when I was like, oh, I'm Phantom Menacing these movies. I'm pretending to like them.
Yep.
Because I don't want to admit that they're going downhill.
Yeah. I
was
really
not alone in that either, because a lot of bad movies were getting 85% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I think that with the exception of Guardians of the Galaxy, which I think maintained a level of artistry, this is the first thing where it's like, somebody is behind this who genuinely, honest to God, cares about what they're doing here. Like they're not making product, they're making they're making a story here.
And at the same time, too, it also, but yeah, it does. Like, well, it feels like it's doing that, and it's also trying to fix problems that it feels like it knows that Marvel has right now, which it does. It has these problems that are going all over the place, and we need to kind of right the ship and stuff as best that we possibly can. And like
now, I didn't get that feeling. I felt like one smart thing they did is they just focused on Loki and Loki's story.
Yeah,
but maybe I missed some stuff.
Well, the big
I'll
thing
be the
with
first to admit I can miss
the
stuff.
big reason that we're really focusing on Loki, and especially because this is all time travel and everything. Loki is the audience at this point because we're following him because he's the only character that we kind of can follow within this. Because if we follow anybody else, we're going to end up off the track and stuff. So, but we need to know what Loki knows and the amount of time with which he knows it. So he's the only character that we can follow in this story.
Yeah, that makes sense. Can we go ahead and talk a little bit about Ouroboros, the character Obi Ouroboros?
Yeah.
Because, that gets introduced right in the first episode. And my first question is, do they cast Ke Huy Quan is how I think his name is pronounced. If I'm wrong, I apologize. I'm not trying to be funny and doing it wrong on purpose. But I say Ke Huy Quan when I say his name.
I know it's not Hui.
Well, I'll call him Short Round sometimes too, but I'm not doing it to be diminutive. It's just what I remember him as.
Get it.
Right.
But anyway, do they cast Quan I'll just use his last name because I know I'm saying that one correctly. Do they cast Quan in this role, if not for Everywhere, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once?
No, not even. No.
Because boy, this is kind of a similar idea here. The traveling between timelines and stuff. But boy, I'm glad they did, because I like this guy, man. And when I first watched the episode, when it first came on, I didn't have a real good view of the screen right at first, and I thought, man, they got somebody that looks just like a younger version of Quan there. And then I was like, wait, man, that guy's aged so much better than me. That is Quan. But he looks younger here than he did in Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Yeah, he looks amazing in this show. You're just like, this guy's what, almost 60?
60? Yeah.
Getting close to it, if not.
Maybe 55. I don't know, man.
He's over 50. We know that.
I know he was older than you think when he was Short Round.
Yeah, probably
because he was a short kid. But
did you notice his belt?
I didn't notice his belt. Was it the
Little Goonies
belt?
It's the Little Goonies thing. This little belt from the Goonies. Belt, it's great.
If it had a camera that came out on an accordion arm, I would have loved it. But I didn't even notice that was the belt. But
boxing glove.
And when I was watching this, I had this thing where I could not remember the name of Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, because I was wanting to write a note about that, and I kept calling it Life, the Universe, and Everything, which of course is not the name of the movie, and it was killing me that I couldn't remember the name.
Sounds like a Terrence Malick movie.
Yeah, that does sound like a Terrence Malick movie.
It's what 42 is. It's the meaning to life, the universe, and everything.
There you go. That makes more sense.
You just don't know the ultimate question.
I've got to say, when it comes to Ke-Huy Quan, I think is how you say it. He is a charm machine. He's an absolute charm machine. And so they rightfully put him in the basement where they have to explain concepts to the viewer, to the dummy like me watching the show, in simplistic ways where they're basically cheating information to you. And they do this in a bunch of different ways with this character, and then later on, even in the first episode here, where yes, we're going to be time jumping, we're going to be doing a whole bunch of different things, and to let you know where you are in time, if you're paying any attention at all, where Loki is, because he keeps hopping, and it was, I thought it was so deftly done, because he's basically Basil Exposition. Well, in the show, Obi is, and the way he's getting things across, because you just like this actor and therefore this character, is that they're like, okay, say this thing. Like, okay, now say this thing so that we don't have to explain it for 25 minutes.
So are we at a point now where everybody watching this show knows what Ouroboros means? Like, they know the meaning behind his name?
Bruce, let me tell you something. The public will astound you with how dumb they are. They just
also
will.
There's stuff that I think is like, sometimes I think it's like obscure and everybody knows it, and people are like, no, that's not obscure. Then I feel stupid for thinking it was.
I think that's somebody, but trust me, I deal a lot with the public. The public is pretty dumb.
Because as soon as I heard his name was Ouroboros, I mean, you might as well call him Bootstrap Paradox. Like, this is our character, Bootstrap Paradox. And because he worshipped He Who Remains so much, I knew that it was going to be like his knowledge of He Who Remains. It was actually going to train He Who Remains. Like, just the meaning of Ouroboros, snake eating its own tail. Mm-hmm. With him being Ouroboros and being in that position, I said, what's going to happen is he's going to teach. He's actually going to be the one that teaches the guy all the stuff that he himself, Bootstrap Paradox, Terminator. I'm the Terminator's dad.
Yeah. I mean, I love little aspects of stuff like that. Like, the fact that, Loki has to kill himself in order to continue to go further on within this. It's just, there's little bits like that, you're always going to end up in this space. We're always going to be coming back to this particular thing, and we're just trying to straighten it all out.
I found some parts of this story to feel like a much better done Legends of Tomorrow, other parts to feel like a much better done. I'm not trying to make enemies. Doctor Who hasn't hit with me lately like it may have with other people, so I felt like some of it was a better done Doctor Who, or some was very much Doctor Who. But then it ends in a way that's only Loki. But I didn't know if you guys were feeling like other stuff at times when you were watching it. Particularly the World's Fair stuff felt like a really high budget version of an episode of Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh, I thought you're well. Any of those kind of shows, like a Legends Tomorrow or Doctor Who, I feel like those people will sit there and watch a scene like that and just break pencils. I wish I had this kind of budget. What's going on? It's a bunch of bull crap.
Even when Miss Minutes goes into like a big size to scare people, they did that in Legends of Tomorrow with the little teddy bear, Teddy Ruxpin thing.
I got to be honest with you, Bruce. If we weren't watching it for HMP, I didn't watch Legends of Tomorrow.
No, it's like
today I would not, but at the time I did.
Listen, we all made mistakes when we were younger. Okay, you leave me alone.
I do have to say, they not only did they have the really wonderful trick of showing, not telling on this show, they did a whole lot more showing than they did telling. But they also did the other thing of, this has the budget of everything else, with the exception of how much they had to probably pay out for Owen Wilson or for Tom Hiddleston. But for the most part, this is also a show with very little extras, with very little big time set pieces, right?
Set pieces, no. But maybe you're going down this alley, but like one of the things that it does do, like you are correct, it doesn't have those things. The production value and everything is so on point and just top notch that that's
where I'm getting.
Yes. That's what I was thinking, because that's what it felt like to me. Because
because there's not a cast of thousands on this show, even though it feels like there is. There isn't, and they played that really well. Whereas when you're watching something, I mean, Jesus, man, even the first Thor movie, it's like, is there anyone alive on Earth?
That's why they said it in New Mexico, where the population density is less than 1 per square mile or something.
and so, but I didn't have that feeling watching the show. Because they're at the end of time and people keep getting zapped and all this other stuff and timelines are disappearing. It felt really fun. It made sense. We're trapped in this place, but the place is saving us. Like that feeling of that. And the ticking clock that's in every single Marvel movie, you really feel it in this movie, in this show, which you don't. I haven't cared about the ticking clock in a Marvel movie in a very long time.
You feel the ticking clock until you don't, though, because then Loki goes, how long would it take me to learn all this? Decades, maybe even centuries. And it says centuries later. And then you're seeing, that's where it felt very Doctor Who, because there was an episode of Doctor Who where it took him 1 billion years to punch through a wall, and he just was stuck in the same time loop over and over again until he punched completely through it. And it kind of felt like that with him going back training himself. And it felt a little Bill and Ted, which I loved, the way that Obi would be standing there saying, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, it's this thing, because they went back in time and gave it to him, but they don't have to show it. I really like how they Bill and Tedded some of that.
Me too.
But the guy turning into spaghetti, all that was great visual gags, I'll call them.
What a great, interesting, unique. And I mean, because like God knows, with CGI and everything for the last 25, 30 years, we've seen it just about everything. You know what I'm saying? So when you can get something that's like this, that is like, ooh, that is unique and interesting and different. We don't see people exploding into spaghetti neurons and stuff before.
Right.
It's very cool. And it's like, it's Cronenberg in a sense, but like more graceful and elegant than what Cronenberg kind of does.
And unless I'm wrong, it's a whole second season with only one new character of consequence being introduced, right? That's Obi. Everybody else we had in season 1. And usually a season 2 or something, they feel like they got to cram in a whole bunch of new faces or you'll think it's stale. I like it. This felt like a person who had confidence in what they were making and didn't feel like they needed to do anything to help sweeten the pot, so to speak.
They didn't make the big mistake that a lot of people would do, which is, we got to go bigger with this. Instead, what they did for season 2 of Loki is like, hey, let's look within. Like, let's make this tight and small and great. And they did. And, I will, full disclosure here, episode 5, I started thinking to myself, they're not going to stick the landing for this. And it's going to totally ruin what the rest of this show felt like. Because Marvel has such an ending problem to their movies. Like, it's pretty rare when you get a really good ending. But boy, man, that 6th episode, it was like stuck the landing. It made me wonder, did they come up with the ending first for season 2?
Now, can I tell you something about episode 5 just before we kind of, because this is what I have heard is that they scrapped the script for season 5 or episode 5 in almost kind of 11th hour fashion.
Really?
And basically rewrote that. So there's a reason that one's probably crappier is because they were kind of rewriting on the fly. That's what I'm to understand. That's what the internet says.
And I didn't watch episode 1 until the whole series was complete, and I'd gotten feedback. This is something you need to watch. Like I didn't even toy with the idea of watching it in real time. So even when season 5 was starting to drag, episode 5 was starting to drag a little bit, I still had confidence that it was going to end well because I'd been told it ends well.
And so let's talk about Hiddleston here, because what a journey this guy's actually been on. Like he's like, is he now one of the longest Marvel guys?
Oh yeah,
at this point,
yeah.
all the way back to
he
OG
shows
Thor.
up in Thor, which is what, the 4th Marvel movie? Am I right?
Third
Something
or
like
fourth?
that. Yeah.
Something, yeah, or one of the early ones there, and so he's rocking a good almost 15 years on this bad boy.
And he was the bright spot in a less than stellar movie, so I think that solidified who he was, and was so popular with the fans that he becomes the villain in the Avengers movie. I mean, that's awesome too.
I almost go so far as to say, without the gravitas and what he brought to that role in Loki, perhaps Thor doesn't take off like had that potential without him that it should have had, because I don't know that it does.
It's the thing that Marvel did correctly during that one span, right? Because like Iron Man 2 had come out and nobody liked that movie. And then like they had made a bunch of not stinkers, but a bunch of movies that weren't well received. And then Marvel course corrects where they're like, oh, Thor is actually the actor who's playing Thor is really funny. And it turns out that Tom Hiddleston actually he commands a room when he walks into it. Let's lean into that.
Yeah.
Like things like that.
Now, famously, Tom Hiddleston was cast as Loki because he auditioned for Thor.
Right.
What is a world like with Middleston as Thor?
I think that you get better Thor 1 and Thor 2, but there's no way you get the Thor 3 that we got.
You don't even make Ragnarok.
Well, you wouldn't have in that, but the point would be that you wouldn't have to pivot to that on account of those first 2 movies. Because let's be honest, that's where like they had to change course in order for Thor to be successful.
Yeah, they had to realize who their lead actor was.
Yeah.
I mean, they had
so
to embrace
if it was banging
Chris
right
Hemsworth
off the bat
as Chris Hemsworth and not try to make him another Chris Evans.
Let me dye them eyebrows, boy. Come here.
But back, I guess, to the season 2 here. What did you think of Victor Timely and Jonathan Majors? He made some decisions with that character and that performance. And I don't know, do you, I love the hair. I don't know that I like the speech pattern.
Well, that was one of the things that Adam and I spoke to before you were watching it, is that, he's turning into one of those actors where everybody he plays has some weird tick.
You're like, that's a choice.
He's moving towards Crispin Glover territory.
More so Benicio del Toro.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. I didn't even think of that.
It's
Nailed
definitely
it.
Del Toro, where it's just like, I'm sorry, I don't even think you're from planet Earth, much less any particular country or region. No. You're not even human.
And I have to ask this question with Jonathan Majors, because I've liked every single thing he's done as an actor. He's great in Creed 3. He's the best part of Creed 3, really. And I like everything he's done at Marvel. I even liked that HBO show that fell off a cliff after the first 2 episodes, Lovecraft Country. Mm-hmm. He's even good in that. Like all throughout it, he's good.
I think it's that role that really brought him to prominence, right?
Yeah, I think so. But here's the issue with him, is that Disney is not a corporation that takes too kindly to you have extracurricular problems. They do not like having to deal with any of that. So the fact that he's still here, the fact that he's still in this role, they're probably not going to recast his character at this point.
Now, I don't know if
Here's-
you've heard this. Hold on, I got some possible
we may be
insider
saying
information.
the same thing, so I'll be quiet and listen.
Okay, because as is as is sort of maybe been uncovered by the internet, there may be something within Jonathan Major's contract that says only he can play Kang.
Oh, wow.
Now, that is not what I was going to say, but I do have something that I've heard that I'll share, and then a question that I'll ask. But the person who was the head writer in charge of the Kang story arc going forward with the Marvel's MCU was let go and replaced with a new writer, leading people to speculate they're not going to follow the Kang thread.
I think
Like
that's
what's already shot is shot, but I think people are believing that they're not going to go forward with Kang, or at least not with what they had planned to go forward with. So we'll see.
And it's crazy because we're still and I think one of the reasons for the fact that they're probably going to shift in some way, shape, or form is just, I mean, because at this point, the man has, we live in America, innocent until proven guilty. So he hasn't gone to any court thing, but obviously you don't want that lingering in the background as a multimedia, conglomerate and everything that's got, you want to hang your hat on our family friendly stuff here and then have, somebody over in the wings. Even an allegation is a bad thing, true or untrue.
I kind of mentioned this last week when we were talking about some of this, Adam, but Disney doesn't care if he's guilty or not guilty. They care about whether or not it will affect their stock
bottom line.
Yeah. So he could be guilty of sin and money be good and they're going to keep him. He can be totally innocent and people turn on him and they'll kick him to the curb.
But at the same time, let's think about it like just as from a sports analogy standpoint, right? Like if Tom Brady hit an old lady with a car, he'd still be allowed to play football. You know what I'm saying? Like we wouldn't have kicked him out in his
sports,
prime.
Though this isn't sports. So much of a good actor versus a bad actor is totally subjective sometimes to the person watching. Sports, the score is on the board.
Well, that's fair.
And if also Disney's at a time where it's pretty easy to let people go from Marvel properties because they're not exactly knocking folks' socks off at the moment.
But yeah, they almost do you think?
Well, I want to go ahead and ask this question while we're on the topic. I feel like at this ending, I could be satisfied that Kang's arc is complete. I really could.
I think that's
they need more Kang.
I think that's what they're doing here.
That's what I was going to say.
I don't think we're going to see any more Kang. I don't know about his contract, but there's no way that he could have a contract that said he would have to be Iron Lad. So if anything, they would bring back Iron Lad as the young Victor Timely. If you're familiar with the Young Avengers, that's who Iron Lad is. So they could still have the character only with a 20-year-old.
I think that because we hear Mobius talk about they had like a 616 adjacent problem, and you see his he who remains his face on the folder there and everything. From the sounds of it sounds like the way that they're setting it up is you're right. We're gonna have no real more Kang stuff because they've more or less said his variants and stuff, we're keeping track on all of those people and stuff, so it shouldn't be a big deal, more or less. That's kind of what they say at the end of the episode. Like, we're kind of tracking those other guys and stuff, so if ever that comes along, it's not going to really be a big deal because we know where all of those people are. It feels like they're very slogging it off.
Well, in the interest of time and plus feeling like we're kind of bogged down just a little bit, can we move to that ending and talk about you don't need Kang because now we've got Yggdrasil.
All right, let's go.
I don't know if either of you guys want to mention more before I just get straight to how amazed I was at seeing all the spaghetti, all the timelines being grabbed in the hands of Loki, who for some reason has traveled so much that now he's kind of got that as part of his core, is that's like something he can do now. So he's the only person going and actually grab the timelines and hold them all together. And then when I see him coming up and then it backs out, I was not expecting it to make Yggdrasil. And they haven't talked about Yggdrasil really at all in the Thor movie so far. And what a beautiful way to introduce the world tree and having him finally sitting on the throne with his burden of glorious purpose, as they alluded to his very original introduction into this cinematic universe, and having him fully go from villain to maybe the ultimate god in this universe was really satisfying and fulfilling to me. I think Loki's character arc is one of the best character arcs in long form movie history. And my second favorite from Marvel, I mean, I'm still always going to be a sucker for Tony Stark's character arc. I mean, it still makes me cry sometimes. But boy, I love this character arc for Loki. How do you guys feel about it?
I listen, I'm a big fan, and I think that really it is just everything that Hiddleston brings to this. He never once in his entire history of all of the Marvel movies feels like he's phoning in a performance. He is going and giving 100% to this, and he is, I mean, there's a reason why, Loki took off. Loki was popular, and it's like there's something to this guy. Your eye gravitates towards him, even though he's not the biggest or maybe quite necessarily the most charismatic person, but your eye can't stop going to him because he's got that special little thing. And this show has just, amplified that even more. And when you give that guy even more time to, kind of flex for us here and everything, it's just so darn impressive. And I'm glad that he got to go out in this fashion to where he's kind of like, you're right, he's the guy who's literally holding it all together now.
And in the big picture, Odin struck Thor down to earth to teach him a lesson in humility and to reform Thor. But when you watch the whole story, it was actually his other overlooked son who learned the lesson and was made great. Because where's Thor at now? He's not anywhere really that far along from where he was in the second movie. But you look at Loki, and my goodness, he is now the savior of every universe.
I would say to you that Thor has learned that he's not the most important being in the multiverse.
He's learned he's better as a comedic lead instead of a straight lead.
Well, that's the kid. Those are the writers of the Marvel property.
And then one day we learn to laugh.
I think that one of the things that this show has done is that I thought that I was never going to give a crap about the MCU for a very long time. And this show made me care about this particular thing, which I didn't think was possible. I really didn't. And I kind of just watched it because I started watching this kind of sort of because I just like the dynamic of Hiddleston and Owen Wilson together. And then when you add the third element of OB on this onto this, it really is like, oh, these are my friends. Like I really like
it's got,
I really like this hang.
It's got the look is great because the retro futuristic thing of everything. They took their time with this show, and there's so much care into it that it's just seeping out of every bit of it.
And the machine is too big to grind it to a halt right now, but I think it would be perfect if the last image I saw from the MCU was Loki in the center of Yggdrasil.
Absolutely.
Take 5 years off, then reboot it if you need to. But
absolutely,
like this incarnation, I would love it if that was the last image in my mind of this MCU that, it's like a long-term relationship. You remember a lot of rocky times. So if you sit back and look, there's also a lot of good times too. And that's a nice way to remember. Let's end on a high note.
Mm-hmm. Well,
this is when Costanza would get up and walk out of the meeting,
Goodbye. It's so much. It's so much better than I thought it was going to end up being. I was just like, man, a Loki TV show, there's so much potential for horribleness in this. I was like, is he going to be down in Earth just trying to, conquer it and running into problems and stuff? I'm like, I don't want to see that. And they gave us just this weird and wild, and they like leaned so heavily into the sci-fi and weren't afraid of that, and to run around in, in a difficult, it's a difficult thing, time travel and trying to get all that stuff right. And again, juggle all those balls in the air at the exact same time and land the end.
What do you guys think is next for Hiddleston?
Because
I don't know that he's ever really accomplished success outside of the MCU in terms of being embraced by an audience.
He's in that King Kong movie, right?
Yeah, he's good. He's good in that.
Case in point.
He was in the Hank Williams thing where he was real good in that. The movie itself is like it's all decent, but he's real good. I didn't even know
there was a Hank Williams thing. So that's back to my point. Yeah. Like, what's next for Hiddleston? Like, because he's so good as Loki, I think of him as like really high, and he's not going to take just anything that comes along. But also, if you look at what he's done non-Marvel, he seems like he's not necessarily super picky about what he takes. So I guess my question is, would a BBC program like Doctor Who or similar be below him at this point?
I don't know, but listen, it'll never happen in a gajillion years, but God almighty, you just put the idea of Tom Hiddleston as a doctor in my brain, and I'm just like, I would come back to that for so hard.
Time.
Oh, Good
I've been
Lord.
thinking about that for a long time because, in my opinion, Doctor Who needs a little something to win the fans back over. Isn't that why they brought Tennant back in?
Yeah, I hadn't seen any of that. Anybody see that?
No, I mean, I checked out a long time.
Yeah, I haven't. It's just like at this point, I'm like, I'm too far gone. I can't.
But you
I
bring
can't
in-
bring
you
me
got
back
some
home.
news, boys, because I've been doing a little bit of research while you've been making with the yakety yak.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a movie coming out in 2024 called The Life of Chuck. Life of Chuck.
I've
There,
heard of this. What is this?
The lead character is played by Tom Hiddleston.
It's Chuck
Yes.
Berry.
He is Chuck Krantz, this character,
Oh,
Chuck Krantz.
shoot.
But here is where you had my interest. Now you have my attention, which is that the writer and director is Mike Flanagan.
Oh,
That's where I heard it from.
that this will be interesting. Is it a movie or a limited series?
It is a movie. It's got Kate Siegel and Karen Gillan in it, and Tom Hiddleston.
Sold.
Yep.
You've said all the right words. Congratulations, you've put together the cube of awesome.
And you said Kate Siegel, not Katie Seagal.
Right, Kate Siegel.
And I'm not being funny, but sometimes I hear the names wrong. But that's like his partner or something, right?
I
Don't they
want
work
to
together a
go
lot?
They do. And if that weren't enough for you, Matthew Lillard's also in it. Get out of here.
All right,
Man, he was in that Five Nights at Freddy's.
that guy's having a good little second back nine here,
Yeah, yes.
And he's still the voice of Shaggy in some animated properties. Not
having
all of
some
them.
fun over there. Good for that guy. All right, before we get to our final review here, let's one more quick thing. Let's a couple quick things.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
because let's say Kang's gone. Kang is out of the picture at this point. Let's assume that that's a foregone conclusion at this point because according to Another Planet, I think Another Planet is the podcast that put this got this scoop that Jonathan Majors is the only guy that can play Kang. So if we're dropping him off at the bus, who are we getting in for the big bad?
It's going to be
Learned their
Doom.
lesson. Yeah, they
It's
got to be
Doom.
Doom. There's nothing, there's like this idea that I ran across when I was writing my first book and getting advice and stuff. And people are like, if you hold back your good ideas for book 2 or 3, you'll never get a book 2 or 3. And I think Marvel's like, okay, we cannot hold back Doom any longer. We got the rights. We need something. We're losing them. Doom will bring him back in. And Doom is a person who easily could have the gravitas to take over a Kang type of plot. And, Kang and Doom, both big time enemies of the Fantastic Four, but it's got to be Doom.
It's going to be Doom, and the other big bad that's still floating around out there is Magneto. He is going to be coming back, and it's going to be probably fairly soon after the Doom arc ends.
But you can never play Magneto as a straight villain now. Because
Sure
he's
you
just
can.
a little too sympathetic now.
No,
we'll see. We'll see. I'm willing to stand corrected, but I just don't think that with what's happened to that character, both in the comics and on the screen, that you can ever play him as a straight villain. He's a person who's been deeply hurt and is striking out, but he's not a straight villain anymore.
I think that you can still play him the same way that that Michael B. Jordan was in Black Panther.
Yeah.
I mean, he's clearly a bad dude. He just has.
He's got a
By
lot
the
of
way-
charisma.
By the way, what a mistake to kill that villain, because that
Man,
villain
no-
actor combo could have come in handy.
No kidding.
Oof, would have been a good one. All right. Now, before we get to our final review, we have to find out how this, possible end to Loki and his series relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone.
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Oh,
Hello, Mr. Stallone. Tara Strong is the voice of Miss Minutes in Loki. And if you like any cartoon at any point in the last 20 years, she's worked on it, including 2 favorites within the House of Kovacs, Timmy Turner on Fairly Odd Parents and Bubbles on the Powerpuff Girls. But she has over 757 credits to her resume, which means she's probably in voiceover booths more than people who actually work there. Hey, Tara, do you know where we keep the wind socks? But the reason why she's today's Stallone connection is because just this year, she was the voice of Mainframe in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which also boasts the talents of you, Sylvester Stallone.
yeah.
She has 16 credits in 2023 alone, including a stint on something called Baby Shark's Big Show, a show that I think is probably based on the song that every man, woman, and child has heard on YouTube. It's part of the Nick Jr. lineup. And for reference, I went to the best place for insightful, thought-provoking reviews, the IMDb user reviews page. Someone whose username I won't say, because it's probably their actual name, has written a review entitled, "Oh God, Please No."
Hey, that's the name of my autobiography.
They write, "Baby Shark is a terrible song, and I hate it so freaking much. It stinks. It stinks. It's a terrible song. It sounds horrible. Only drooling babies like it. The song absolutely stinks because it's garbage and it stinks, and it's stuck in my head. It drives me crazy. I can't take it. I'm going to go insane if I hear Baby Shark one more time." And even worse, my band teacher made this dumpster fire of a song for our pep band song, which means we have to play it for football and basketball games. And I think the band and I should go on strike because the song is terrible and hell to play because it stinks and the show stinks and the toys stink and it's all just a desperate cash grab. And I know this is a huge run-on sentence, but I just got to express that this song and the show absolutely stink because they're so terrible and cringy and annoying, and it deserves to be canceled because the songs stink. 1 out of 10 stars. Well, thank you, name I've withheld to protect you from yourself. Looks like I dodged a bullet because me, a middle-aged man who was about to watch a show on Nick Jr. for my own fun, but now, not so much. No way. And thank you for your time, Mr. Stallone. This week's Stallone connection is voiceover superstar and former roommate to Nev Campbell before either was famous, Tara Strong. That's a true story.
Huh.
I hope to hear from you soon. Your pal, sweet Shanzi Kovacs, the Hartford Hellion.
Oh, I like the new nickname.
Thank you.
Oh man, she's got to be a bit older than Nev Campbell, I would think.
Yeah,
she is exactly 50 years old.
Yeah.
So however old Nev Campbell is, I would guess she's probably mid-40s. She's probably like 5 years older.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, about 5'6". Now, if she's 50, that makes nothing but sense. All right, here at the old H&P, we have our own patented Robin rating system. Bruce, where does Loki Season 2 fall on the Robin rating system for you?
One thing I have to do is kind of like brace myself to try to give it a rating that's not like, oh my goodness, everything else has been so bad and now this isn't bad, so there's a knee jerk to overrate it, you know?
Yeah.
But it is really, really good. I do think for me, what makes it so good though is the strength of that ending, those final images when Yggdrasil's being put together. My mind's blown because I totally wasn't expecting that. How did I not see that all along? Like,
I didn't expect Idris Elba to show up in this show either, but when he did, God Almighty, it was amazing.
So it when something lives so strongly by one image, that image is a Dick Grayson, but I think the show's a Tim Drake. So I'm going to give it a Tim Drake.
Interesting. Sean?
I'm giving it a Dick Grayson, and to hell with what you just said, Bruce. I think that this thing did something that I didn't think was possible, which I thought I was going to have to put some distance between me and the Marvel Universe in order for me to give a crap about it. And this show took 6 episodes to make me go, oh, wow, this thing can still be great when done correctly.
If you do it right, it can.
And I
be
think
great.
that half of the deal with this show is that, you know, I know that in your head it's the last image, Bruce, but for me it's that it kept happening. Like image after image after image for me are stuck in my head. Like
Nice.
like when Owen Wilson puts skin in the dust on the computer monitor. And so when Loki jerks himself out of time and is there later, you see it on the computer when there's no one there. And you know, oh, now Loki has jumped to the future because you see that it says skin on the side of the computer. Like it's stuff like that.
I even missed that. So good for you to catch it and point that out to me.
It's pretty. It's so well done that there are like just him in the at the World's Fair, like all of that World's Fair stuff, all the Miss Minute stuff. It's great. The ending of the show, the early 1980s McDonald's. I mean, all of that is just terrific. And let's make no mistake about it. The McDonald's in the show is clearly product placement. Like, there's no way it's not.
It's so product placement. Where is this thing's got to be? Is it in Atlanta or somewhere in the surrounding area? I feel like this has got to be a real thing.
This is not. Loki was not shot in Atlanta.
No, I mean, well, there parts of it clearly were.
No. No part of season 2 was shot.
Well, maybe not season 2. Okay, fair enough. I was more talking about locations and stuff with season 1 because obviously there's a lot of hotel stuff and other little tiny things that were like.
Yeah, we'll talk. We can talk about that off air because there's a bit to talk about. But for me, it's a Dick Grayson, man. They did something I thought was impossible, and I really, really enjoy it to the point where, if somebody says to me, "Hey, is there something on Disney Plus that I should see?" I'm going to say to them, Loki, season 1 and 2, and Werewolf by Night, and the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, and that's all you really need to watch.
Yeah. For me, I'm going all the way up to the top here, as well, because for me, this is like. It shouldn't work. It shouldn't work. It should be crappy. It should be terrible. And it did. And it's righting a lot of the wrongs and stuff that everyone else, all the other Marvel movies have been kind of doing. Everybody broke all the things, and like they're literally just trying to go, listen, I mean, the show's basically saying we'll never be able to contain all of this. It's all wild and crazy. We're doing our best. For the love of God, please get off of our back. We're trying to put together something meaningful enough, I guess.
I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch Loki in real time, or did you watch it later?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I think that I may have liked it better if I watched it in real time, but I already had expectations set pretty high before I watched it. And that might be part of why I'm a level of Robin below you guys too.
It was legitimately a surprise for me when they stuck the landing, Bruce. It was like, holy crap, they did it.
Yeah, Dick Grayson.
Yep.
Good stuff. That is it, everybody. We'll talk about what we're doing next week in a moment. But Bruce, what strange fact do you want to let everybody in on this week?
Well, I just want folks to say thanks to the folks who went and watched the Werewolf Fighter trailer last week after I mentioned it. It's still there on my YouTube channel. If people want to go watch the Werewolf Fighter trailer, hopefully I'll get that thing wrapped up and be able to share it, before too awful long. It's still got a few things to do, but thanks everybody who went and watched the trailer and said they're looking forward to it and gave it a thumbs up and stuff.
Excellent. Sean, they with Derek putting together his Worlds Within and everything, we're at some point we'll figure it out. It's in the future a little bit, but we just want you to get your head around it at some point. We're going to put together some sort of RPG campaign for us with all that Worlds Within stuff that they've got going on. So
I'll just put this out here. I think it would be nice to put it in the nerd spawn setting.
Oh, okay.
and I could play Adam. Adam could play Sean. Sean could play Bruce. It would be kind of fun that way.
We just play each other. That's hilarious. Everybody's doing the voices. We'll see. But next week, we're going to be talking Gen V, the spinoff show from The Boys on Prime right now. So they're getting us a little primed for The Boys Season 3 coming up soon. So we'll be checking out Gen V and catching up on all that. So for those of you that have been saying, hey, you've been getting off all the comic book stuff all the time. Well, we're getting back to a little bit of it. So just calm your horses. We're okay. That is it.
I think most people enjoyed the break as much as we did, to be honest.
I hope so. That is it, everybody. Join us next week when we're talking Gen V on Prime. For Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Matt Borges. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Edie.